What's up guys, Clip from the Sunday Drive. Today we're gonna show you how to remove the fuel tank on my 2014 Silverado. So welcome back to the channel guys. We are going to be showing you how to drop the fuel tank on a 2014 Silverado. It's gonna be similar on a lot of GM trucks, but we are working on my 2014. You may notice that the bed is off. This is not necessary to remove the tank, but it is off already, and it's gonna make filming this a lot easier, guys, so you can see the steps and process for doing this. With the bed on, it would be very difficult to do, I will say that. This is gonna make it far, far easier, and we do have a video showing how to remove the bed from your Silverado. So if you need to strip down to this point, we'll have the link above and down in the description for that. And this is part of a much bigger series where we are completely removing everything from the bed, or from the frame rather, so that we can galvanize it and truly protect the frame for many years to come. So if you're interested in checking that series out, be sure to see the link above once it eventually publishes. I'm sure the tank dropping will come out much sooner than the entire galvanizing series. But without any further ado, let's show you guys how to remove your fuel tank. Now, if you have your bed on the vehicle, you are gonna need to disconnect your fill tube. You can either just disconnect it from the bottom right here, but you're really not gonna have, I think you might be able to get it to the bed. Kind of sits right here. It would be kind of difficult to get to this connection, but you might be able to do it more easily. You can just remove this right from the side of the bed. Now what I will say is these connections rust out. So actually you can see that these are both ripped out here. I'm actually planning to replace this entire piece. And I had to drill the bolts out that hold these in place to get this to release from the vehicle. So just be aware, if you go to do this, have some good drill bits and be prepared to drill those two bolts out. But I have a new piece gonna go on here, but this will be needs to be disconnected from the side of your bed before you're able to drop the tank. Now, not all fuel tanks have this, but mine has this plastic shield that runs underneath of it. So there are 3 13mm bolts that hold that plastic shield to the frame, and then we'll be able to unclip it from the passenger side and get that removed, and then we'll have access to the 2 straps that hold the tank in place. Now again, you can do this with the bed on the vehicle. This can all be done from the bottom, and there's a decent amount of slack in these wires so that you can lower the tank down, access your fuel pump connections, remove those, and then get the tank pulled. But it's gonna be much easier to film for you guys and much easier to do this with the bed removed from the truck. So let's get those 3 13mm removed. And then there's one more right underneath where the cab starts. All right, now there's some clips holding it on the passenger side that we'll need to release. With those 3 13mm released, we can come to the passenger side and just lift up. You can see there's metal tabs that come off of this interior metal shield. And I believe it should come right down. There we go. As always, I like to put bolts back right where they came from so they aren't misplaced. So I'm gonna go ahead and just thread these 3 bolts right back into the frame. We raised the truck up on the lift. This is easily accessible on the ground, but we wanted to film it for you guys. We have our charcoal canister, part of our evap system, so we're gonna go ahead and disconnect this line right here, and then there's another line right up top here. Previously, we upgraded to this aluminum drive shaft, so if you guys wanna have a video on how to do that, if you didn't know, above 95 to 100 miles an hour, these drive shafts can actually split apart. So if you wanna be able to dyno your truck and go over 100 miles an hour, you have to upgrade this. So if you wanna see that, check out the video at a link above. But we got a couple clips here. So this clip, you gotta pry out on both sides and then push up. So I got some pick tools here. Upward force on the clip here by pushing up like that. There we go. Now just keep in mind, as you're disconnecting some of these lines, some fuel may come out, but I did run the truck pretty low. So I'm fortunate enough that I was able to do that, anticipating this. But if your fuel pump or something has failed, or you have a crack in your tank, or somebody drilled it and trying to steal your fuel, you may not be fortunate enough to have an empty tank. But we shouldn't have too much fuel in ours. So again, same style clip up here, it's just a blue clip instead of a green one. We have a couple clips on either side, and if we pry up on the top, it may just release them, or I may have to pry them out. There we go. All right, a little bit of fuel coming out of that one. But she is loose. All right, I'm gonna get a pig mat here to catch to that. So as we mentioned, you are gonna wanna have this disconnected from the side of your cab in order to be able to lower this down. Since we have easy access, we are gonna go ahead and remove the fill tube right here. It's held in by an 8mm, and then we're gonna remove I believe this is a vent, so we're going to remove this line right here. And there's also this other line that runs up. I believe it's to an evap canister at the front. I could be wrong, but I think it's an evap canister. That also runs up here, but we can leave that connected to the unit. So let's go ahead and remove this 8mm. There we go. Not too bad. So we have a green tab on the back that actually looks like it partially broke. I probably removed this many years ago when I was coating the frame, but normally this green tab would go down on this side and on the inside right there, and you would pull it away and lift up. So you can see it should be a U shape, and right now it is only half of a U. And then we're going to push this white part in right there. Let's release the connection, and our fill tube is free. And again, there's a ground wire that runs here as well that goes down to the side of this mount. But we're just going to set this to the side right like that. All right. Now these two connections right here are the ones that we disconnected up at the front while we had the truck up in the air. We have some electrical connections right here. And again, normally you're going to start to lower the tank, and you'll have access to these without removing the bed. But since we are fortunate enough to have the bed removed, we're going to go ahead and stick a pick tool in from this side. Okay, there we go. Yep, so you can push down like I just did, or you can take a pick tool from this side and lift up on the connection if it's fighting you. Now this one does appear to have a lock on it. So we're going to slide that part back, that outer part right there. It actually looks like this one used to have a lock just like this one, but it is no longer here. So I'm guessing that broke the last time I was doing this probably too. Just because we're here, we're at 162,000 miles. I don't really feel like dealing with this again in the next 100,000 miles, so we're going to proactively go ahead and swap the fuel pump out, and also so we can make a video for you guys, but that will be in a follow-up video. All right, so we're going to, now that we have that clip pulled back, we're going to press in the middle like that. You heard the clip, or again, you could pry from the front. And we can pull that electrical connection off right there. And I'm going to just push that up and out of the way. Now this line right here only runs up here where we just disconnected from the vent that ran up to the fill tube, and then it runs back here as well. And then these two lines, again, we already disconnected those up at the front with our charcoal canister and part of the evap system. So now we should be ready to remove the two bolts that hold the straps in place, one for each strap. Use a jack to slowly lower the tank. Now if your tank's full of fuel, try to find a way to drain it. If you can't, this is going to be a little bit more challenging. Fortunately, my tank does not have that much fuel in it. So I've went ahead and taken a jack, and I've put a 2x4. You don't want to jack up at any single point, especially if you have a lot of fuel, because it is a plastic tank. So I've taken a 2x4, run it to the front and rear, and I have a jack under here. This is probably going to want to tip to one direction or the other, so we're going to need to hold it a little bit as we're coming down. But there are two 15mm bolts holding the straps in. So one is right here, very easy to see, right at the top or bottom of the frame. The other bolt is tucked up behind the frame right here. So we're going to go ahead and remove those bolts. If there is more fuel, you would definitely want to keep the jack on there, but because I did not have a lot, I was able to remove that 2x4 and get that strap out. And now I'm going to put the 2x4 back in place on top of the strap, or under the strap where the strap used to be. All right, cool. All right, so we have that 2x4 on there. We have this strap released. You can see it flop down, so we're going to go ahead, up, and pull it out. So that is the front. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish removing the back bolt. All right, seems to be staying in place, so that's good. Put that down. Hope on that. Let's get the strap out. There we go. It is big enough, or the hole is large enough that you can come straight out with it. You don't really have to angle it to get it out, which is nice. The back one is much deeper than the front one. So you can see that right there. And these have actually held up pretty well. There's not really any rust on them, just surface rust. All right, so now I'm gonna kind of hang on to this, and we're gonna try lowering it down, and we're just gonna keep an eye on any wires as we're going down, make sure nothing's catching. We're clear up front, nothing catching. We're gonna come all the way down. Let's pull the floor jack out. All right, that is the fuel tank removed. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of rust right here. So this front tube frame is starting to rust out. We're gonna check in a minute to see how bad it is. But that is how you drop the fuel tank on a 2014 Silverado. The process is really similar on most GM vehicles, but especially the 14 through 18 model year Silverados and Sierras. should be identical. I know on Pete's 2004, the charcoal canister is actually located right up here in a little tray that sits here, so it's much harder to actually access those fittings that we did from below the truck. So they definitely redesigned some stuff for this model year, possibly some previous model years that make it a lot easier to access those fittings, but that is how you drop the tank. If you guys have any comments or questions, again, we are going to be doing an amazing series. Hopefully it's an amazing series, but a very involved series coating the entire frame of this truck, lifting the cab. We already have a video showing how to coat the back half. Now we're going to show you what to do for the full half and hopefully be galvanizing the whole frame. We have to see if it's doable. There might be some issues with stripping out some of the old material in the rails that make that not possible, but stay tuned, find out together with us. And in a following video, we're also going to be showing you guys how to replace the low pressure fuel pump on your Silverado and a lot more. So be sure to stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you back in the next video.